Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Meredith. Today I want to talk about my plans for NaNoWriMo and Preptober. I am in a new location today. I am in a cabin in Vermont. I'm going to have another vlog where I kind of show my writing week in Vermont and in the mountains. And it's going to be a lot of landscapes and hiking and all that stuff. But for today, I just want to talk about my plans for the next couple months. While I was in the woods and doing all this hiking and kind of getting away from the writing for a while, I had some time to think about how I wanted the next 2 months to look. And I've mentioned some of this stuff in other videos, and so there's bits and pieces here and there of my plans and my process and what I'm thinking about, but I want this to be kind of the record of looking back, how did I do? Did I meet these goals? Was this realistic? We'll see if I actually carry through with all of this. First off, let's talk about what NaNoWriMo actually is. If you're new to the writing community like I was last year, NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month, where in the month of November, writers participate in a challenge to write 50,000 words of a new novel in 1 month. Traditionally, you're supposed to take a project that you've never worked on before and just write it. Just draft it as much as you can and try to basically finish a fast version of the novel. You know, a novel is usually more than 50,000 words, but it's a really good start, especially on a new novel. And it's that kind of driving momentum to get people to actually write, to jump into it, to put perfectionism behind them and just say, I'm going to do this because everyone else is. And honestly, it's a fantastic way for the writing community to come together and to all be participating in something difficult but doable. And then the month of October, of course, is the month before NaNoWriMo, where everyone is prepping their book. And so Preptober is the name for it. Usually a lot of Preptober activities are working on character development, working on world building, plotting, doing a synopsis of your book, all those types of things that basically make the process of writing 50,000 words in 1 month really smooth, because you don't want to get hung up on those things that you didn't figure out and then get stuck and then not finish the challenge. So that's the gist of Preptober and NaNoWriMo. So am I going to be participating this year? Yes, of course. I think it's an awesome challenge and there's a lot of community built around it. And so there's just this big feeling of like, we're all in this together, and I don't want to miss that. Have I written 50,000 words before? Yes. So I did NaNoWriMo last year and I won. And that was with the first draft of the book that I'm writing right now. I have hit 50,000 words, including that month, 4 times total in the last year. So I believe it was November, January, and then just the last 2 months, August and September. I know that in a typical month, when I have a lot of ideas and I have a lot to go on, I can hit 50K. It's not always easy, but it's definitely doable if I am feeling the motivation and I'm feeling like there's a good reason to do it. So I don't think that the 50,000 word count is going to be a problem necessarily. It's more like the actual project itself might pose a problem, and where I am in my other project and kind of my mindset that I think could be a problem. So let's talk through that. So in my other project, if you've been keeping up with my blog so far, you know this, but let me just repeat it real quick. I have been drafting a rewrite of my book that I wrote last year, and I'm about 3/4 of the way through, maybe 4/5 of the way through, and I need to finish it. I'm not going to start a new book without finishing this book, especially since I put so much time and effort into it, and this was my plan all along, to finish this book and then have some time to prep for the next one, and then do NaNoWriMo with a book that I've never worked on before, and hopefully have 2 finished first drafts by the end of the year. So this was the plan all along, but the plan went off the rails when I just needed more words, and that just takes more time. So, you know, I hit those goals that I tried to in September and August, but this book needs to get written before I can start thinking about the next one. I'm a very one-track mind person. I can only do one thing at a time, and I've been working on this book for a year, and I've been more than happy to do that. So I'm actually a little hesitant to flip back and forth. However, I think it's coming at a perfect time where once I finish this draft, I know that there's tons of things that I need to edit, but I'm gonna need that time to let it sit before I reread it and then really make a draft 2 of the thing. So I want to write this next project as a way to get my mind completely off of my first project so that I can recharge and look at it with new eyes when I go back to it. So I think that diverting my attention to something else is going to be great. So the plan for the next couple months is basically to take the next couple weeks and finish that book. Like just finish it, run through it, race through it, put it away. Then take a week or two of October, whatever time is left, because we're already on October 6th when I'm filming this. And so take the last couple weeks of October, plot my next book, and then take all of November and write it. So let's talk about project number 2. That'll be starting in November. It's a book that I thought of when I was 15. There was just like an image that popped into my head of there was a show I was watching or something, and I just kept thinking about it, and the story kind of just unfolded. I've been thinking about it ever since. It's one of my most developed story ideas. Because of the world building, it just really came to me in a flash. Like the 2 characters also, I really have a very good idea of, and I have a really good idea of their goals, but not necessarily their like internal character motivation, like the backstory that kind of pushes them forward into these goals. But that's all stuff that I'm going to come up with in October. The book itself, it's in a sci-fi world with sci-fi technology that it revolves around DNA and biology. I'm a biologist, and so that's something that really appeals to me, and I love human genetics especially. So this is a really fun book for me that when I started when I was 15, I had all these questions about how these genetics worked. After going through college and now working for a while, I have the answers to a lot of the questions I had when I was 15, and so I'm really excited to get back to this book and think, wow, I've come so far in my career as a scientist where I can actually answer these questions that I couldn't when I was 15 and was dying to know. And also science has come further, and I literally like there are now solutions to the problems in my book that didn't exist when I was 15, and that's so cool. And also to be able to be a part of those solutions like in my daily job, like that is awesome too. So I feel very like connected to this book in that way. But the technology of the world is creating kind of an underground steampunk society, and so that is where the story is taking place. So it's like steampunk, but we've also got this biological aspect, and some characters know more about the sci-fi world than some other characters do, and so it's an interesting mix of a world that's been taken away from technology, and then a couple characters who have insight into a world of technology and biological advancement. I have a planning document with a lot of my ideas that I've collected over the past couple years, but I need to really hone it. I need to figure out what to do with it. And like I said, a lot of the world building is pretty good, but there's definitely some things that I need to figure out. And the main thing I don't know is the plot. Of course, plot just doesn't come to me. It's just not one of those things that appears and announces itself to me. So I need to find the plot. So that's the main goal of October, is to figure out what those plot points are based on the final goals of each character, which is a really good thing to know. So if you know a starting point and you know an end point, you can pretty much figure out like the steps that go in the middle. I mean, you know, the entire book. So that's what I'm going to be attempting to discover in October. Where I'm going to do a lot of the character motivation. I'm going to do some plotting. I'm going to do some world building. And so whatever time I have left in October, that's what I'm going to do with it. And then basically I'm going to zero draft this thing. I'm just going to, as much as I have planned, I'm going to just go for it and not worry so much about it coming out well, because I'm probably going to rewrite it. That sounds like it's kind of my process at this point, is I write a fast draft and then I figure out kind of like what the plot possibilities are through the process of just writing, because that's just, I guess, how I discover plot. But if a really great plot announces itself to me in the planning process, that would be fantastic. I just can't count on that right now. So I'll plan on rewriting this book, which is not a bad thing. Actually, I think it's a good thing to kind of get a chance to rework it after I've played with it a lot. So November is going to be my sandbox month. It's a month to figure out what's there and just have fun with it after having so seriously and like meticulously drafted this rewrite. Now I'm like, maybe I should actually use that process to my advantage and plan not to use the first draft of my next book. So that's what I'm going to do. So what does YouTube look like in that time? So the plan is, I have some vlogs that I'm in the process of editing about my writing process of my first book. So I'll be uploading those throughout October. I have the last one of September. I'm gonna have this one in the woods of Vermont. And then I'll probably have one finishing up the book whenever I do finish it, because I haven't yet. But so I'll be releasing those vlogs. And then once I get to the end of October, I'll actually have some time and some space just to kind of get my mind in gear for, okay, how do I develop a new story idea? Not the one I've been working on for a year and have been thinking about, obsessively for so long, but I need to switch gears, and how am I going to do that? And hopefully you can take something away from that too. And then in November, of course, I will just take you with me as we write a book from scratch and let my other ones sit and probably be sad about it, and move on to new things. And I think it'll be fun. It'll be good. So that's the plan for YouTube and my book and everything else. It's definitely a crazy schedule. I know that. It's something that I am not feeling burnt out about at all. It's something I'm just so excited to do. And I think the reason why is because I've been trying to write since high school, or before even. I've had all these story ideas and I've just been wanting to write them so bad, but college has just taken it out of me. I've been ready to get back into stories for so long and wishing day after day that this is what I was able to do rather than, studying organic chemistry. I'm not feeling burnt out. And maybe one day I will, and maybe one day I won't be able to do a schedule like this, but life has made room for it. I have made time for it, and I just want to keep writing. So for me, this is ambitious, but it's also totally doable, and it's also something that I just want to do so bad. I want to have 2 whole books in my hands by the end of the year. And the plan for December is basically a catch-all month. I want to finish any part of the second book that I'm going to be writing for NaNoWriMo, and I want to finish it up in December and either get to a good stopping point or just finish it. But then for the rest of the month, if I can, I want to do poetry and journaling and kind of some reflections and projecting into the new year and thinking more long term. And so I want it to be more of a restful month, especially with the holidays and everything. And the main thing I want to do in December is read, because I have a goal of 30 books that I wanted to read in the year. I actually set that goal a couple of weeks ago because I realized it was possible. But I've only read 20 books so far, and I need to get going. So I'm hoping that a lot of those books will come in December when I am kind of just letting projects sit and marinate and maybe ambiently thinking about plot, but maybe not. This has been such a transformative year for me, writing wise, and I've captured some of that on film, which has been really interesting. And I want to keep going, keep making progress, keep just becoming a better writer and better at telling stories and better at thinking in general and coming up with ideas. And so my hope is that you will also want to do that with me too. And and then we can all do it together, especially with the spirit of NaNoWriMo being people doing hard things together. If you like this video, give it a like so the YouTube algorithm can suggest it to other people who might like it, and subscribe if you want to see the rest of the content and all the crazy writing that I'm going to be doing in the next couple months. And definitely leave a comment down below about your writing process and what you're doing for NaNoWriMo, your project, or your plans for Preptober. I would love to hear all about it. Thanks so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.